Chapter 11:16. Mandy ran off in a flash and Gu Meng Meng could not stop her in time. Shaking her head in exasperation, Gu Meng Meng let her be. After Mandy's antics, Gu Meng Meng's unfamiliarity with being alone faded away. After clearing the bowls and chopsticks, Gu Meng Meng returned to the cave to retrieve 2 pieces of snake skin. Wabi had brought them for her so that she could change into 2 sets of clothes. But the snake skin on her body belonged to Snake and she did not want to take it off, so these 2 pieces of snake skin had been left unused. Now, they could be put to use. The wooden pail that Fei Rui had helped Gu Meng Meng wash was already completely dry. Gu Meng Meng tied the snake skin loosely to the wooden pail to act as a strainer, then opened the seal of the stone basin. She used a large stone bowl to pour the fermented grape juice onto the snake skin, filtering the juice before placing the pulp at one side. Gu Meng Meng slowly poured the juice into the 9 large basins. By the time she poured the 3rd basin, Elvis and Leah had already returned. The moment they entered the cave, the 2 of them were taken aback. Elvis went forward to carry Gu Meng Meng while Leah took the large stone bowl from her. "Why didn't you wait for us to come back and let us do it?" Leah asked as he copied Gu Meng Meng's actions of pouring the grape juice onto the snake skin and filtering it into the wooden pail. Elvis grabbed Gu Meng Meng's little hand and placed it into his mouth, licking the sticky juice off her fingers. Gu Meng Meng giggled from the itch. "Anyway, it's boring to stay home alone, so I did something to pass the time. Sigh. I will go wash my hands." But Elvis did not let go. He tightened his grip on Gu Meng Meng's waist. "I can lick it cleaner than you can wash it." Gu Meng Meng looked at Elvis speechlessly. "Stop fooling around," Elvis gently bit Gu Meng Meng's fingertip. "I haven't seen you for an entire morning. Be good and let me get closer to you." "Dirty." Gu Meng Meng blushed. But Elvis laughed. He kissed Gu Meng Meng's little face. "My Xiao Meng is so delicious, how can it be dirty?" With that, he sent Gu Meng Meng's little hand, which was stained with grape juice, into his mouth. He sucked and sucked, his deep gaze fixated on Gu Meng Meng's face, making her blush. However, Elvis seemed to be infatuated with the feeling of teasing her so much that she felt shy and at a loss for what to do. The more he sucked, the more exaggerated it became. In the end, it felt like an action movie. Gu Meng Meng quickly retracted her hand, her face so red that it looked like blood was about to drip out. Not daring to look at Elvis again, she could only change the topic to Leah. "Mandy came to have breakfast with me this morning and said that you went to look for Ian to ask about the love of the sky." Leah nodded. "Yeah, I just wanted to give it a try. My luck is not bad, he must know. But he doesn't want to say." Leah nodded and replied, Then, seeing that the wooden barrel was already filled to the brim, he removed the snake slough and used the sealed lid that Gu Meng Meng had prepared beforehand to cover the wooden barrel. He moved it to the other 2 wooden barrels that were already filled and said, "Have lunch first, I will do the rest after I finish cooking." "Actually, I can do it." Leah pressed Gu Meng Meng's hand to his lips and kissed it. "Your males are still alive. How can I bear to let you use this pair of beautiful hands to work? Don't make my heart ache. Be obedient, Gu Meng Meng was helpless. She mumbled softly, "I will be groomed into a useless piece of trash by you guys sooner or later." Aside from the topic, alright, today's update has ended. See you tomorrow. Remember to leave a message with 5 stars. Then, remember to hand over the tickets if you have them. Chapter 11:17. Hearing Gu Meng Meng's complaints, Leah smiled instead. He pinched Gu Meng Meng's little nose. "It would be best if we can pamper you so much that you can't even breathe when you leave us. That way, I won't have to worry about you suddenly disappearing." Gu Meng Meng wrinkled her nose. She didn't insist on filtering the grape juice herself. Leah transformed his hands into claws and then back into hands. His hands were so clean that they were not stained by dirt. When the sunlight shone on them, it was as if his skin had been tanned until it became transparent, giving off a pinkish glow. Gu Meng Meng didn't have a hand fetish, but she really liked Leah and Elvis's hands. Both of their hands looked especially nice. If their fingers were intertwined, that would be an extremely beautiful scene. Thinking about that, Gu Meng Meng sniffed instinctively. She mustn't have a nosebleed again. Otherwise, she didn't know how the two of them would deal with her. Not long after lunch, Mandy dragged Ian to Gu Meng Meng's cave. Gu Meng Meng looked at the solemn Ian and Mandy, who kept urging them, and roughly understood what was going on. Ian looked at Gu Meng Meng for a long time. Must you find the love of the sky? Gu Meng Meng thought for a moment before nodding. Ian looked at Mandy again. In the end, he couldn't resist her nagging. Then find a male from the bird tribe to be your partner. Ah! Gu Meng Meng was shocked. Luckily, Ian had already mated with Mandy. Otherwise, Leah and Elvis would probably be strangling him by now. Ian pulled Mandy to sit at the long table at the entrance of Gu Meng Meng's cave. He stood behind her and placed his hands on her shoulders. His face was filled with helplessness. I heard that the love of the sky is on the highest peak of the Moda Mountains. That place is so tall that it pierces the clouds and is abnormally steep. Ordinary orcs can't even reach that height. Even birds may not be able to fly up to that height. The Eagle Owl tribe used to be one of the birds guarding the mountain. But because the climate was too harsh and it was difficult for them to reproduce, the number of females in the tribe decreased until none were left. Ian remained silent for a long time before continuing. The Eagle Owl tribe is a tribe that guards the lower altitudes of the Moda Mountains. As the guardians, we have never flown to the peak of the mountains. Even if he tried his best, he could only fly halfway up the mountain. So, if you want to go to Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky, you must first find a vulture as a partner. Apart from them, there was no other race in this world that could fly so high. However, the vulture race prided themselves on being the people closest to the sky. They were even more arrogant than normal birds and would definitely not come down from the Moda Mountains to approach the land beasts. So, it's basically impossible for you to find a vulture as a partner. This was a vicious cycle. If you wanted to go up the Moda Mountains, you would need a vulture to fly you up. But vultures could only be found on the Moda Mountains. Since the Eagle Owl tribe used to guard the mountain, they should be very familiar with them, right? Can't you accompany me and pass the message? Gu Meng Meng asked. Ian's face darkened and the emotions in his eyes were hard to decipher. His brows were tightly furrowed, as if he was holding back something. After a long time, he finally spoke. In order not to be exterminated, I brought my tribesmen to seek refuge in Saint Nazaire. This is equivalent to betraying all the guardians of the Moda Mountains. They will not leave the Moda Mountains to chase after us. But if we go any closer to the Moda Mountains, all the birds on the mountain will attack together and tear the people from the Eagle Owl tribe into pieces. Digression, do you remember my babies? We have an explosive update on the 24th. At midnight that day, there will be at least 100,000 words of updates. Chapter 11:18. That's why you are not willing to tell Leah about this. Are you afraid that I will force you to go with me? Gu Meng Meng asked. Ian shook his head and said, when I sought refuge in Saint Nazaire, I said that as long as you take in my tribesmen and help us survive that winter, my life will be yours to command. If you must go find the love of the sky, I will bring you there even if I will be torn to shreds. But... Ian tried his best to curl the corners of his lips into a bitter smile and said, because of my decision, the Eagle Owl tribe has become the shame of the Moda Mountains. I don't have the face to go back and face my former friends. I clearly remember that you came to seek refuge in Saint Nazaire when you were at your wits' end. You just wanted your tribesmen to live on and did not do anything heartless. Why are you so ashamed to face others? Gu Meng Meng was indignant. She could insult her friends however she wanted, but why should others despise her? Ian lowered his head and said, "The Eagle Owl tribe is not the first and will not be the last." But, only the Eagle Owl tribe left the Moda Mountains and gave up their duty to protect it. To the Moda Mountains, the Eagle Owl tribe is a traitor, a deserter and a betrayer. Gu Meng Meng tilted her head and said, do you know me?" Ian looked up and looked at Gu Meng Meng as if she was an idiot. It was rare that Gu Meng Meng did not rebuke him. She pointed at her own nose and said, "Doesn't the bird tribe view serving the beast deity as the highest honor? Since that's the case, isn't serving me, the messenger of the beast deity, closer to the beast deity and more loyal to him than flying foolishly in the sky?" Ian looked at Gu Meng Meng and suddenly had a feeling of speechlessness. All roads lead to Rome. Being loyal to the beast deity is not the only way to defend a mountain range. Gu Meng Meng patted Ian's shoulder and said, "To let the beast deity see your loyalty, the first requirement is for you to stay alive. If you die in the Moda Mountains, the beast deity will not be able to see it no matter how horrible your death is. He will be very busy." Unknowingly, Gu Meng Meng's words were like a seed that sprouted in Ian's heart. Then, it gradually grew into a towering tree, absorbing all the haze that had been weighing on his heart for over a year. He had sought refuge in the Saint Nazir tribe where the messenger of the beast deity was. He was merely using a more direct method to continue offering his loyalty to the beast deity. Perhaps he hadn't pushed the Eagle Owl tribe to the point of no return, right? Ian curled his lips and looked up at Gu Meng Meng again. He felt that she was exceptionally pleasing to the eye today, but he could not help but praise her. I didn't expect to hear something human from you one day. TSK, heartless." Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes at Ian, but she was not really angry. She just held her chin and looked at Ian, asking, "Is Moda Mountains far? How long does it take from Saint Nazir?" Ian said, "It took us 9 days to get here. If we travel on foot, it will take at least half a month." Gu Meng Meng's fingers tapped lightly on the edge of the table. Half a month, just the journey back and forth would take a month. Almost half of the rainy season had passed. If they left now, they would definitely not be able to return before winter. Chapter 11:19. All right. It was a simple word, but it carried the weight of a promise. Ian did not know what position Gu Meng Meng held in his heart. Was she the messenger of the beast deity respected by the Eagle Owl tribe and even the entire beast deity, or was she a friend whom he could sacrifice for? He only knew that Gu Meng Meng was a very special existence. No matter what happened during normal times, as long as she said the word, he would risk his life to accompany her without a second word. With the matter settled, Ian did not stay any longer. He held Mandy's shoulders and said, "Let's go back first, don't disturb others' meals." Mandy looked at the meat in Gu Meng Meng's pot with envy. She had wanted to eat more in the morning, but in order to help Gu Meng Meng persuade Ian, she only ate a small bowl before leaving. Now, that pot of meat might not even be enough for Leah or Elvis, so she was too embarrassed to stay for a free meal. She stood up and followed Ian out. After 2 steps, she stopped and turned back to look at Gu Meng Meng. She called out softly, "Gu Meng Meng." Gu Meng Meng looked up at Mandy, using a single room to ask her what was the matter. But Mandy smiled brightly and waved. "I'm leaving, goodbye, oh." Gu Meng Meng was at a loss. Then, she heard Mandy say to Ian in a soft but excited voice, "Did you see that? I called the great messenger's name, and she answered me." A crow flew past Gu Meng Meng's head, leaving behind 6 large dots. After Ian and Mandy left, Leah took over the bowl and chopsticks from Gu Meng Meng's hands. He put down the chopsticks and changed to a small spoon to feed Gu Meng Meng personally. Elvis lifted her by the waist and Gu Meng Meng fell into his arms. This dance, there was a demonic aura. Leah looked at Gu Meng Meng with a grin. Meng Meng, do you think our family will have a new member soon? Gu Meng Meng instinctively rubbed her tummy. Not so soon. If I don't get the love of the sky, will the two of you make me pregnant? Elvis held Gu Meng Meng's hand that was on his tummy. Don't act dumb. Children are never considered family members. Why? Gu Meng Meng slammed the table and exploded. Why couldn't her child be considered a member of her family? Was there still justice in this world? Elvis chuckled, rubbing her little head and comforting her, because when they grow up, they will mate with other females and form a family. They cannot stay in our family forever, so children cannot be considered as family members. Gu Meng Meng thought about it. Yeah, she treasured her son, but she was not so perverted as to not allow her son to get married and tie him to her side to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Sigh, the pig that he raised would eventually have to steal someone else's cabbages. He had to accept this as soon as possible. Gu Meng Meng nodded and said with a little melancholy, "Oh, so our family only consists of you, me, and Leah." Facing Gu Meng Meng's disappointment, Leah raised his eyebrows. His expression did not change as he continued to smile amicably. Yeah, there are only 3 of us. It's a little too small, right? Gu Meng Meng nodded instinctively. She had originally thought that her family was rather strong. With her, Elvis, Leah, Hedda and his brothers, there would be even more little foxes and wolves in the future. However, it turned out that her son could not even be considered a member of her family. How depressing. Chapter 11:20. Her hair stood on end. For the first time, Gu Meng Meng felt that Lee's smile was too scary. She shook her head. No, I don't want to take in a vulture as a partner. Leah chuckled. That's right. The vultures live in the harsh Moda Mountains all year round. Their bodies are naturally stronger than ours. Moreover, they can fly. Apart from your beast pressure, no one can push them down from the sky at that height. So even if we challenge them to become partners, Elvis and I may not be their match. Moreover, if you fancy one, Elvis and I can become partners without the challenge. Gu Meng Meng cupped Lee's face and stopped him from speaking more and more exaggeratedly. I don't want to become partners with a vulture. You are thinking too much. Lee's mouth was pinched into a fish's mouth by Gu Meng Meng. His bewitching eyes matched with his adorable lips gave off a conflicting sense of cuteness. Gu Meng Meng smacked her lips and kissed him. Don't think too much. You and Elvis are enough for me. Our family doesn't need other males. Lee's temper melted from the kiss. His tone unknowingly softened. The vultures rarely go down the mountains, but that doesn't mean they have never gone down before. In the past 1,000 years, they once went down to Solder to meet the leader at that time. No one knows what they talked about then. But the vulture's looks were described vividly. Leah gently pressed down Gu Meng Meng's little hand that was pinching his face and said, his long brown hair is like the flowing water of an ancient lake. His slender and muscular physique is a perfect work of art forged by the harsh climate of the Moda Mountains. It is forged by the cold winds above the clouds and has its own lofty and unyielding character. They walk calmly in the Solder tribe. That is because they have no fear because of their power. Just a glance from their sharp eyes would make others shudder in fear. They would automatically retreat and try to find a place to hide themselves. With that, Leah sighed. The Snow Fox tribe is such a proud tribe. How good-looking must they be to be able to pass down such a legend for hundreds of years? Meng Meng, I suddenly have no confidence in my own appearance. What if you really fancy a male vulture? Gu Meng Meng shook her head and sighed. Didn't you confidently tell me that there is no one better looking than you in this world and that I should just look at you? Why are you saying this now? Leah glanced sideways and said worriedly, Back then, I felt that the vultures never set foot on land and you would never see them, so I was naturally the best looking. Who knew? Sigh. Gu Meng Meng leaned forward and kissed Lee's face, saying, no matter how they look like, in my heart, you and Elvis are nothing. You said it yourself. Leah peeked at Gu Meng Meng from the corner of his eye and said proudly. Yes, 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 I will. Gu Meng Meng smiled helplessly, before snuggling back into Elvis's arms. Hubby, say, since the vultures are so powerful, why don't we bring them all back to Saint Nazaire after we get the kiss of the sky? Just like the Eagle Owl tribe, they can be incorporated into our air force. No. Elvis's rejection was resolute, without a trace of hesitation or hesitation. Chapter 11:21. I haven't forgotten how you drooled and acted like a hooligan when you first saw my human form. Elvis pinched Gu Mingming's little face. What did you say then? Touch and kiss me even at the risk of drowning, mmm. Gu Meng Meng laughed dryly. Don't mention the past. Let it go with the wind, but Elvis did not buy it. He continued to smile coldly and continued, you've said it yourself, you're a veteran member of the Appearance Association and your motto is appearance is justice. You're handsome, so whatever you say is right. Gu Meng Meng was speechless. How could she reveal all her secrets? TSK TSK TSK. She felt good just because of her cheap mouth, but she regretted it the moment she said it. So, do you think I will allow a tribe whose looks gave Leah such a sense of danger to join Saint Nazaire and create a destructive crisis for myself? Gu Meng Meng shook her head. No. Elvis chuckled. He tapped Gu Mingming's little nose in approval. So smart. Gu Meng Meng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hubby, I have to clarify something. I treated you that way because I was single at that time. Flirting with a handsome guy while single is not called acting like a hooligan. It's called creating an opportunity for love. Yeah, Leah and I have already grasped the opportunity you gave us. So we don't want to give it to anyone else. Elvis said softly. Gu Meng Meng was exasperated. I already have a partner. I won't give anyone else such an opportunity. Elvis stared into Gu Mingming's eyes. After a long while, he smiled. I know what you said is true. I don't need the vulture tribe to verify it for me. I will block all temptations for you. You just have to continue liking Leah and me. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed. She felt that her image was hopeless. Leah and Elvis were sure that she was a female demon who lusted after men. Sigh, forget it. She wasn't wronged. After all, even if time could be turned back to the past, she would still act like a hooligan towards Elvis. Otherwise, wouldn't such a good husband be someone else's now? How could that work? Gu Meng Meng realized that Elvis was usually a man of few words, but when faced with such a situation, both his EQ and EQ would immediately come online to block her. But forget it, she did not have any other thoughts anyway. Whatever he said, it would only make things worse if they continued discussing. In the end, Elvis was certain that she was looking for a male vulture as a partner. But the heavens had pity on her. She had not even seen a single strand of hair from the vulture tribe, and she had already been made into a scandal. She felt even more wrong than Do-e. Leah tapped the area between Gu Mingming's brows. That smile clearly indicated that he and Elvis had the same thoughts and rejected Gu Mingming's suggestion. Gu Meng Meng wrinkled her nose and made a funny face at Leah, not saying a word. Leah said, the problem now is how to reach the highest peak of the Moda Mountains. From what Ian said, not all birds can go up there, let alone land beasts. Actually, there was a very simple solution. That was to let Gu Meng Meng sleep and ask the beast deity. But no one would bring up this suggestion now. Because Elvis and Leah were extremely afraid that Gu Meng Meng would directly transmigrate back to that dream realm. Chapter 11:22. Since they could not ask the beast deity, the problem of how to ascend the mountain became a dilemma. But luckily, they still had a whole winter to slowly think about it, so they were not in a hurry to come up with an answer. The rainy season in Saint Nazaire was extremely busy. Males and families hunted and preserved meat in a frenzy, while those that did not mate would follow Barit and Oridan out to search for the potatoes, sweet potatoes, and lotus roots that Gu Meng Meng had taught everyone before. The rest of them tanned beast skins and divided them according to their grades, before distributing them equally to all the females in Saint Nazaire. Gu Meng Meng had brought everyone to do it once during the winter 2 years ago. Although Gu Meng Meng was not around last year, there were many old tribesmen in Saint Nazaire, so they did not delay the preparation of supplies while defending against the enemies. This year, everyone was more experienced. With Gu Meng Meng holding the fort at home, Elvis traversing through the territory, and Leah strategizing in the tribe, everything was more orderly. Ever since Gu Meng Meng made Mandy call her by her name, Mandy seemed to be hooked by her soul, running over to Gu Meng Meng's place every day. There was nothing special, just following behind Gu Meng Meng to watch others preserve meat or give pointers on how to prepare and store vegetables. Counting the days, first snow should be here soon. Gu Meng Meng was sitting at the entrance of the cave, looking up at the sky when she saw an eagle owl flying close to the ground. When it reached Gu Meng Meng, it transformed into a human and said, "Great messenger, Frankston's witch doctor Joshua wishes to see you." Joshua? Gu Meng Meng thought for a while and asked, "What is he here for?" The eagle owl shook its head and said, "I don't know, he won't tell me even if I ask him. He only said that he wishes to see the great messenger and won't leave until he sees you." Gu Meng Meng originally wanted to say that the witch doctor could look for him if he had something to do, but thinking about how Leah was already having a hard time arranging the distribution of resources for the winter, and also having to worry about obtaining the love of the sky from Moda Mountains, as well as being on guard against Cole's interference, even the smartest person would be exhausted. She sighed and said, "Ask him to come in." "Yes." The eagle owl bowed, then transformed into a beast and flew against the wind. Not long later, Joshua appeared in front of Gu Meng Meng. To be honest, Gu Meng Meng was stunned by this first-level ape. Not because he looked outstanding, but because he was wearing clothes. Yes, clothes. It was not the beast-skin skirt that Elvis and Leah usually wore, nor was it the strange clothes that Leah wore during the ritual. Instead, it was a simple long robe. Judging from the material, it was made of deerskin. Calling it a robe would be an exaggeration. It looked like 2 pieces of deerskin with the head, tail, and limbs removed and cut into a rectangle. One end was sewn with thread, leaving only a collar. After putting it on, a 4-finger-wide belt was made out of something that looked like tree bark. The shoulders of the clothes were slightly wider than his body, and when the waist was tightened, many of the shortcomings of his body were covered up. Joshua, who was originally weaker than high-level orcs like Elvis and Leah, now had a scholarly and refined aura. He did not look like a barbarian, but more like an ancient person. This was the first time Gu Meng Meng saw a male wearing clothes that were meant to cover his body after coming to the beast world. She could not help but feel a sense of familiarity. Chapter 11:23. Greetings, great messenger. Joshua bowed respectfully. Gu Meng Meng nodded as a form of greeting, but did not go near Joshua. After all, she didn't forget that when she passed by Frankston on her way back from Zacharias, Frankston's leader, Hanston, and this witch doctor, Joshua, had offered to escort her. At that time, Hanston had said that he didn't dare to have any other thoughts, but this level 1 Joshua had stubbornly insisted that he wouldn't give up. What if her man got jealous? Now that Elvis and Leah were not at home, Gu Meng Meng did not want to cause any unnecessary trouble. After all, first it was Fei Rui, then it was Victor, and then there was a male vulture. If she got involved with this Joshua, she would not be able to do anything for the entire winter. She would just be soaking in a vat of jealousy every day. So, Gu Mengmeng maintained a certain distance from Joshua. She asked with a neutral expression, "Is there anything you need from me?" Joshua nodded. "Winter is coming soon. I wish to request to stay in the Great Messenger's cave." If it was in the past, Gu Mengmeng might have asked why he wanted to stay in her cave. But Barit had already caused trouble once before, so Gu Mengmeng naturally understood that Joshua wanted to stay in the cave to store food for her. Holding her forehead, Gu Mengmeng shook her head. "Elvis only stored enough food for our family to survive the winter. He did not prepare any for you." In other words, she did not lack food and did not want you. Joshua did not seem surprised by this answer. After all, they were a neighboring tribe. It was no secret that Saint Nazir had a way to store food. Joshua nodded. Then, he tilted his head and smiled. "Then, does the Great Messenger lack beast pets? The kind that is the closest to your way of thinking and behavior?" Gu Mengmeng chuckled. She shook her head. "Joshua, I have no intention of recruiting new males into my family. So don't waste any more time on me. Go find a new target. I can wait." Joshua did not seem to take Gu Mengmeng's rejection to heart. He just lowered his head. The males in the beast world are all stubborn. They either don't love, or fall in love for the rest of their lives. Gu Mengmeng was very clear about this. However, she no longer wanted to carry someone else's burden for the rest of her life. It was too heavy. Gently caressing the back of her neck, Gu Mengmeng smiled. "My stance is very clear. I don't like you. If there's nothing else, please leave." Joshua shook his head. "I want to join Saint Nazir as a witch doctor." Unmated males had the right to decide which tribe they wanted to live in. Witch doctors were a precious resource that was second only to females. Almost all tribes fought over them, and there was absolutely no reason to reject them. However, if they accepted him, wouldn't it mean that they had tacitly agreed to his waiting? Chapter 11:24. Oh, by the way, other than me, there are 17 females in our tribe. Other than Maya, who is a half-orc, the rest are all complete females. As Gu Mengmeng said, she held Mandy's arm and smiled. "Here, she is Mandy, a female leopard. I personally crowned her the first beauty of the beast world a year ago. If you want to mate, why don't you consider wooing Mandy?" After saying that, Gu Mengmeng felt her face hurt. She sounded like a pimp. Mandy glared at Gu Mengmeng shyly. "I promised Ian that I will only accept him this year. If you want to woo me, you have to wait until next year." Joshua smiled at Mandy and said, "Nice to meet you, Mandy." That was considered as a greeting. Then, Joshua's gaze returned to Gu Mengmeng. "I can accept the test to join the tribe. I am willing to accept it no matter what the test is. I must join Saint Nazir." "Join Saint Nazir as a witch doctor?" "Sure, you are most welcome." Leah hurried back the moment he heard that Joshua had come to meet Gu Mengmeng. But the moment he arrived, he heard this fellow confessing to Gu Mengmeng. He did not appear because he wanted to hear Gu Mengmeng reject him personally. But even after Gu Mengmeng made it so clear, he still pestered her. Leah patted Joshua's shoulder lightly and said, "The witch doctor's test shall be conducted in the witch doctor's way. I just patted 4 types of medicine on your shoulder. If you can find all 4 types of medicine by this time tomorrow, you will pass. I will welcome you on behalf of Saint Nazir. If you can't find them, then you can scram back to where you came from. Don't be an eyesore in front of me again." Joshua tilted his head and sniffed the scent on his shoulder. For smells, the number was correct. But these 4 smells were especially faint and hard to distinguish. But in order to join Saint Nazir, Joshua still decided to accept this challenge. Passing the test as a witch doctor meant that the test given by Leah was not too harsh. Okay, Joshua answered and turned around to search for the medicine that he had sniffed out first. After Joshua left, Gu Meng Meng leaned on Lee's shoulder. What did you pat on his shoulder? Are you sure he won't be able to find it? Leah chuckled. Don't worry, I will not allow flies to keep flying around you. Gu Meng Meng laughed and said, didn't you say you have a lot of things to settle? Why are you back so early? Leah carried Gu Meng Meng in his arms and said, come back to kill flies. Gu Meng Meng replied, it's just Joshua, I can handle him myself. Leah replied, if you have to handle everything, why do you still need Elvis and me? Gu Meng Meng was speechless. She could only wrap her arms around Lee's neck and lean into the hollow of his neck, allowing him to carry her back to the cave. Mandy followed him for 2 steps, but upon receiving Lee's warning gaze, she could only turn around and leave angrily. Only then did Leah heave a sigh of relief. His Meng Meng was too outstanding. What should he do if she could win over both genders? He had finally gotten rid of Sandy with much difficulty, and now there was Mandy. Could it be that those with Mandy in their names all had a special liking for his Meng Meng? TSK, as expected, she could not leave Gu Meng Meng's side with Elvis, or else it would be hard to guard against her. Chapter 11:25. Leah didn't tell Gu Meng Meng which 4 drugs he had applied on Joshua's body, and Gu Meng Meng didn't press him. Gu Meng Meng didn't have any special feelings for Joshua, so she didn't want to give him any hope. Turning a blind eye was the most heartless and appropriate method. There were many things to settle in the tribe, especially after confirming that they were going to the Moda Mountains during the monsoon season. Leah had even more things to settle. But everything he did was for Gu Meng Meng. If he neglected Gu Meng Meng because of those things, wouldn't he be putting the cart before the horse? In his eyes, nothing was more important than Gu Meng Meng. So since he was back, Leah didn't plan on going out again. He just sat at the entrance and started curing the meat like the other males. After all, if he didn't do it, Gu Meng Meng had to do it. Elvis, the great god of dark cooking, was forbidden from touching any food that wasn't edible. And he couldn't bear to part with Gu Meng Meng's hands rubbing the coarse salt crystals. Seeing that Leah was preparing the food, Gu Meng Meng automatically stood behind him and massaged his shoulders. You must be exhausted after so many things happened recently. Leah enjoyed Gu Meng Meng's service and smiled. The most tiring thing is that I can't look at you every day. I have to resist the urge to leave everything behind and come back. It's so tiring. But winter is coming soon. By then, I will have nothing to do and just have to look at you every day. Gu Meng Meng wrapped her arms around Lee's shoulders from behind and rested her chin on his neck. In the blink of an eye, this is the 3rd winter we have spent together. Leah shook his head. The 1st. Huh? Gu Meng Meng didn't understand. Leah said, in the 1st year, you mated with Elvis and I was an outsider. In the 2nd year, you circled around Qi Xian for the entire winter. Elvis and I were both outsiders. This year, you have to focus on accompanying the 2 of us. After all, this is the 1st winter for the 3 of us as a family of 3. Gu Meng Meng chuckled. All right, we will stay in the cave for the entire winter. I will accompany the 2 of you. Leah nodded and said, Elvis and I have already expanded the layout of the cave. Before winter, that stone table will be moved into the cave. The storage room has also been expanded to make it easier for you to throw potatoes at us. The floor is also covered with soft new soil, so you won't trip or hurt your feet when you chase after us. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. Why would I throw potatoes at you? Leah glanced sideways with a tinge of disappointment in his eyes. You won't be screwed up this year. Gu Meng Meng blinked her eyes and looked at Leah in confusion. Leah sighed. I was very envious at that time. I thought I would finally have the chance to be smashed by you this year. That year? Gu Meng Meng thought for a long time before recalling that in the first year of mating with Elvis, Elvis had said that she had gained weight. She was so angry that she chased after Elvis and threw potatoes and sweet potatoes everywhere, causing him to dodge in all directions, but not a single thing fell to the ground and he caught all the food she threw at him steadily. She hugged Leah and rubbed herself against him with all her might, smiling. Are you an idiot? Why would you be envious of being beaten up? Leah allowed Gu Meng Meng to mess around with him. He smiled indulgently. I have masochistic tendencies. I only do this to you. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended babies. Susu is working very hard to save chapters. Really working very hard. So, are there any rewards? Something like a monthly ticket, or something like that. Act cute and roll on the ground for tickets. Chapter 11:26. Yeah, Gu Meng Meng remembered this. Leah had always been envious of all the little things she did to Elvis before they became partners, like twisting his ears, smashing potatoes, until now, this fellow would still shake his furry beast ears from time to time, looking at her with an expectant gaze, asking if she wanted to twist his ears. That year of broken roots and broken threads must have really tortured Leah badly, right? She reached out her little hand and rubbed Lee's ears. Then, she chuckled. Domestic violence is not acceptable. In the past, I smashed Elvis because I was a weakling. Even if I used all my strength to hit him, I could not hurt him much. But now, it's different. If I make a mistake, you or Elvis will be hurt. I'm a strong Gu Meng Meng now, I can't hit anyone as I please. Leah pulled Gu Meng Meng's little hand that was rubbing his ears and kissed it. Silly girl, in Elvis's and my world, you are never a weakling. If you want to hurt us, you don't need to use your fists. Just one look from you can push us into hell, or pull us back to the human world. One word from you can kill me on the spot, or bring me back to life. Gu Meng Meng pecked Lee's lips. Then, she smiled sweetly. My hubby has such a sweet mouth. A numbness spread throughout Lee's entire body. She often called Elvis's hubby, but this was the first time she called him hubby. This form of address was set after Snake snatched the title of boyfriend. But she had never called him that before. The first time she heard it, her heart trembled. He hugged her tightly in his arms and kissed her again. Call me that again. Hubby. Gu Meng Meng nestled in Lee's arms obediently. Her face was pinkish, making one feel pity for her. Leah hugged Gu Meng Meng and asked her to call him hubby time and time again. Every time she called him that, he had to kiss her a few times to stop the itch in his heart. Just like that, they spent the entire afternoon until Orton returned with Elvis in the evening carrying his hunted prey. Elvis took Gu Meng Meng from Lee's arms and hugged her. He took 2 deep breaths of the air that carried her scent, then looked at Leah and said, I heard that monkey came to confess to Xiao Meng. Leah nodded. Don't worry, I've already dealt with it. Yes. Elvis curled his lips in approval, before continuing, including today's harvest, we should have more or less stocked up on our prey for winter. From tomorrow onwards, I'll stay at home to accompany Xiao Meng. You can go and do your work. Leah nodded and did not speak. They all knew that what Leah needed to do was not to manage the tribe, but to go to the Moda Mountains during the rainy season. Same old rules, you're in charge of thinking, I'll be in charge of using my hands. Elvis added. Leah chuckled and raised his brows. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage now. Because every time there's a mistake, you'll push the blame to me, saying, he's the one who came up with the idea, I'm only responsible for beating him. TSK, why don't you be responsible for thinking, and I'll do it. Elvis smiled. I am the first partner. My arrangements are the rules. Leah shook his head helplessly and muttered, cunning. Chapter 11:27. Gu Meng Meng shook her head. The storage room in the cave had already expanded by more than 3 times. In the first year, Gu Meng Meng knew that in order to ensure that she had sufficient food, Elvis and Leah ate very little as long as it could sustain their lives. Last year, he was led by the nose by coal to solder for the winter and Elvis did not have time to prepare too much. Luckily, he had the help of the 3 little ones and the food was still sufficient. This year, Elvis was practically risking his life. He could not wait to slaughter all the prey he could see and bring them back. Now that the cave was filled to the brim, even if the family of 3 ate to their heart's content, they would not be able to finish so much food during the winter. What else did she want? Nothing, there was really nothing else. In the next few days, Leah left early in the morning and returned late at night, looking travel-worn. Gu Mingming's heart ached for him to travel back and forth. She said that she could cook for herself during this period of time and asked Leah not to prepare 3 meals for her daily. After all, Leah could settle his meals in the wild on the spot. With less cooking time, he could rest for a while longer. But Leah did not agree. He just hugged her and said, "These 3 meals a day are my excuse to catch my breath. If I don't use this reason to come back to see you, I might not be able to persevere through this tiring day." Gu Mingming's heart was filled with sweetness but she could not bear for him to suffer. So she said that she would prepare the 3 meals in the future and he could come back to eat with her. But Leah held on to her little hand and said, "Silly girl, your male is still alive, why should he let you suffer?" Her rebuttal was futile. Leah still came back on time to prepare 3 meals every day. After taking care of Gu Mingming's daily needs, he hurriedly went back to work. The weather was getting colder. Even without a calendar, one could feel that winter was about to arrive. Meng Meng. Leah took out a piece of beast skin and draped it over Gu Mingming's shoulders. Then, he hugged her shoulders and kissed her forehead, saying, "It's going to be winter soon. Should we hold a bonfire party to liven things up?" Gu Meng Meng did not understand. Everyone was busy preparing food. Who would have the time to hold a bonfire party? Leah said, "Saint Nazir was not peaceful at this time last year. This year, with you back at the helm, no one would dare to cause trouble. However, the clansmen are more or less traumatized. When I saw Maya yesterday, she was still saying that she had a feeling that in the next second, an enemy would suddenly rush in to steal their food and kill their males." Maya. Gu Meng Meng thought for a while. She had almost forgotten about this female. Maya had always been on good terms with Nina. She had watched coldly as Nina bullied Sandy for many years. Later, when he came and Nina lost her power, Maya had distanced herself from Nina and started hanging out with them. He had originally thought that females were precious and did not want Saint Nazir to be in a state of chaos, so naturally, he did not have any feelings for her. They lived in the same tribe, but they were not close. Meng Meng. Leah hooked Gu Mingming's chin, his long and narrow eyes meeting Gu Mingming's. A hint of a sly smile entered her eyes. His thin lips curved up as he said in a low voice, "I want you to tell Maya that you want a male vulture as a partner. During the rainy season, we will go to the Moda Mountains to hunt for treasures." Chapter 11:28. Leo looked at Gu Meng Meng and inched his face closer, saying, "Kiss me and I will tell you." Gu Meng Meng did not act pretentiously and kissed Li's face, saying, "Yeah, tell me." Leah held up Gu Mingming's little face and kissed her left and right, before replying in satisfaction, using her mouth to pass a message to someone. Someone. Gu Meng Meng did not understand. Leo looked up at the sky with a cold smile on his lips. He caressed Gu Mingming's palm with his fingers and said in a seemingly nonchalant manner, "To see someone in pain, the easiest way is to give him hope and then ruthlessly extinguish it. In the past few years, he never got tired of giving me a support when I was in the mud, then taking it away the moment I stood up, watching me fall back into the mud." With that, Gu Mengmeng immediately understood who someone was referring to. Frowning, Gu Mengmeng asked softly, "You mean, Maya is Cole's woman?" Leah glanced sideways and chuckled at Gu Mingming's big clear eyes, saying, "I really love your ignorant look." Gu Mengmeng snorted in disdain, but Leah rubbed Gu Mingming's little head and said, "I am serious, this world is too ugly, you don't need to know or think about those filthy things, just leave it to Elvis and me to handle it. You just maintain this innocence and just watch as Elvis and I clean up the world for you." With that, Leah held the back of Gu Mingming's head and kissed her brow, saying, "Being so reliant and trusted by you makes me feel very accomplished." Gu Mengmeng did not say anything, but her eyes darkened. She turned to look at Elvis behind her and asked, "You also know that Maya is Cole's woman?" Elvis nodded and said, "Her appearance was too coincidental. Leah and I were just talking about creating a tribe, when a female held hostage by stray beasts appeared in front of us, a concept of, I will give you a pillow if you want to sleep." Gu Mengmeng recalled that during the first year of mating, Elvis had told her about their creation of a tribe in order to persuade her to accept Leah. Elvis had told her that Maya was the first female in Saint Nazaire. She did not think much about it then, but now she finally understood. Was this Cole's bad taste again? "You want to create a tribe? All right, I'll give you a female, go ahead and create it. When you build your tribe and think that you have the strength to fight against me, I will personally destroy your tribe. I will watch the hope in your eyes extinguish in an instant, leaving only the thin smoke of despair." This was really like Cole's style. "Why did you still save her when you knew?" Gu Mengmeng frowned. But Leo looked at Gu Mengmeng as if he was looking at a child. He smiled gently, full of pampering and indulgence. "I'm a fox." Leo waved his tail and said, "Isn't the fox best at eating the meat in the trap and retreating unscathed, watching the hunter fly into a rage at the side of the trap?" Gu Mengmeng paused for a moment before smiling. A normal human's thought process would naturally be to avoid risks. If they knew that there was a trap, their first reaction would naturally be to avoid it. Snatching chestnuts from the fire, it wasn't her style, but she had to admit that Leo was right. Chapter 11:29. "But, why did you tell her about us going to Maiden Mountains?" Gu Mengmeng frowned. She did not want to get involved with Cole. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little nose and said, "Do you think Cole knows that I know Maya is his woman?" Gu Mengmeng was a little confused by Lee's words and only understood after thinking it through twice. Thinking about it, with Cole's suspicious and scheming nature, it was impossible for him not to know that Leah had seen through Maya's identity. She nodded and said, "I think so too." Leah chuckled and agreed, "I think so too." Gu Mengmeng thought about it and then narrowed her eyes and said, "You clearly know Maya is Cole's woman, but you still purposely leaked the information to Maya so that Cole would not believe you, right?" Leah tapped the tip of Gu Mingming's nose and chuckled, "Smart. In this way, you have been asking about Maiden Mountains with great fanfare, but in Cole's eyes, it is just a pretense." Gu Mengmeng chuckled, as if she could already see Cole's comical expression when he found out that he had been tricked by Leah. Yeah, the sight of the hunter standing at the side of the trap looking at the eaten bait and the empty trap was witnessed by the fox not far away. Such a beautiful scene, how could one not be looking forward to it? Leah rubbed his cheeks and said, "And the spirit of the rocky cliffs that I unintentionally mentioned, will become the real target in that person's eyes." Gu Mengmeng nodded and smiled, "All right, I got it. Let's hold a bonfire party tonight, Mandy and Maya will sit beside me." Leah pulled Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it, saying, "Yeah, I look forward to your performance." That night, 18 bonfires were set up on the empty ground in St. Nazaire. Gu Mingming's bonfire was the largest, while Maya and Mandy sat on her left and right. Mandy was the first beauty that Gu Mengmeng had personally named herself. Because of her relationship with Ian, it was natural for her to sit beside Gu Mengmeng. But Maya was a half-orc female and did not have a deep relationship with Gu Mengmeng like Sandy. She actually sat beside Gu Mengmeng, and this caused the other females in the tribe to be very displeased. Gu Mengmeng acted as if she could not see the enmity in the eyes of the other females in the tribe towards Maya. She just smiled and waved at Maya, calling her over to her fire. Maya was still timid, just like the time when she knelt at Gu Mingming's feet and begged to follow her. It was just that Gu Mengmeng had thought through some key points and would no longer treat Maya's behavior as a half-orc female's inferiority complex and cowardice. He had thought that Nina was the most annoying female in the beast world. He did not expect to meet Ellie. He had originally thought that Ellie was the classic example of a green tea bitch in the beast world. He did not expect that Maya was hiding beside him. TSK. So Maya was the scheming bitch among the females, the white lotus among the scumbags. He was really blind to not have seen it before. Maya. Gu Mengmeng smiled and was extremely gentle. "Before I came back this time, Sandy was still talking about you to me. The three of us are the original females of St. Nazaire, and our relationship is better than others. When I return from the Moda Mountains, I will bring you to Sauter. Sandy has 3 leopard cubs at home and they are so cute." Chapter 11:30. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. The fish had bitten the bait. If they were really good friends, shouldn't they be concerned about Sandy and the cubs after hearing Gu Mingming's words? Why didn't Gu Mengmeng see through such clumsy acting in the past? Perhaps it was not that she couldn't see through it, but she had never cared about Maya before. So now that she knew she was a spy, she did not feel any anger. Putting herself in Maya's shoes, Gu Mengmeng tried to think. If this spy was not Maya but Sandy, she would definitely be furious. With that thought, Gu Mingming's mood improved. She smiled more sincerely and said, I plan to go to the Moda Mountains during the rainy season to find the love of the sky. But the Moda Mountains are very high, beasts can't even go up. Maya looked at Gu Mengmeng innocently. She did not know how many secrets she had revealed. Gu Mengmeng and Leah had to spend a long time to pry information about the Moda Mountains out of Ian's mouth, and as a half-orc female with no achievements in St. Nazaire, she really knew too much. Gu Mengmeng had her own thoughts, but she did not show it on her face. She just continued, so I plan to take in a male vulture as my partner and let him fly me up. Vulture? Wow! Maya's face was full of longing, her eyes shining with envy. She said, I heard that vultures are the most arrogant race in the beast world. Every one of them has outstanding looks and is powerful. Gu Mengmeng is probably the only one in the entire beast world who can tame such a male. What a clumsy bootlicking. Gu Mengmeng smiled despite her disgust. They are my father's most loyal subjects. They should have the honor of being my partners. Maya's smile froze. If it was in the past, Gu Mengmeng would not have paid attention to Maya and would definitely not have noticed this flash of jealousy. But now, she could see it clearly. Maya quickly adjusted her expression and smiled in agreement. Being able to be your partner is a gift from the beast deity. After all, you are not only the messenger of the beast deity, but also the daughter of the beast deity. Gu Mengmeng smiled without saying a word. She just raised her eyebrows and put on a proud look. Maya was also afraid that she would give herself away if she stayed by Gu Mingming's side for too long, so when she saw that Gu Mengmeng was ignoring her, she took the initiative to say goodbye and return to her campfire. After Maya left, Gu Meng Meng called Mandy over. The two males who came with her were the first partner Ralph and the newly mated Ian. Ralph was very tactful and did not take the initiative to approach Gu Meng Meng. Instead, he went to Lee's side to learn how to cook. Ian was more familiar with Gu Meng Meng. Before mating, Elvis and Leah did not say anything when he loitered around Gu Meng Meng. Now that they had mated, Elvis and Leah were even less concerned about him. Hence, they allowed him to sit beside Gu Meng Meng with Mandy between them. Chapter 1131. Gu Meng Meng shook her head. I can't guarantee that I will stay here during every rainy season, but I can guarantee that Saint Nazaire will become stronger and stronger. So strong that no one will dare to sneak up on us and snatch our food. Mandy was a little disappointed. She pouted. Without you around, the atmosphere in the tribe will be weird. It's as if we are missing our backbone. It makes people feel uneasy. Gu Meng Meng patted Mandy's little head. Don't worry, everything will get better. Take your claws off her. Ian tooted. His tone was not very friendly. Without Wabi-Ai around, Ian was the only one left to bicker with Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng smirked mischievously. She removed her hand from Mandy's head and spread her palm out in front of Mandy. She stared at Ian provocatively and shouted, Mandy, come, let's hold hands. Ian's eyes were fixed on Gu Meng Meng. Mandy felt overwhelmed by the favor. She carefully placed her fingertips on Gu Meng Meng's palm. Gu Meng Meng lifted her hand up and grabbed Mandy's little hand. Then, she purposely spread her fingers in front of Ian. She interlocked her fingers with Mandy. Then, she raised her chin and raised her brows. She looked at Ian with a bite me if you have the guts expression. Ian tooted. He turned to look at Elvis. Your female is seducing others like this. Aren't you going to stop her? Elvis's expression did not change. He just tore off a small piece of roasted meat from Leah and sent it to Gu Meng Meng's mouth. My Xiao Meng likes to bully others. It's her good fortune to have taken a liking to your Mandy. Snatch her back if you have the ability. If not, learn from Bode. Learn from Bode? Ian asked. Elvis looked up and said calmly, I accept my fate. Ian was so angry that he wanted to snatch Mandy back from Gu Meng Meng's hands. But when he saw how happy Mandy was looking at Gu Meng Meng with starry eyes, he forced himself to stop. Ian had admitted defeat too quickly. This made Gu Meng Meng feel very unhappy. When the person being provoked did not react, the provocation became especially boring. Gu Meng Meng let go of Mandy's hand, then hooked her finger to beckon Mandy to come closer. Mandy did not understand and just did as she was told. Then, Gu Meng Meng whispered into her ear, after the night campfire party, come to my cave. I have something to tell you. Mandy was very puzzled. What could they not say here? But she didn't ask any questions and just nodded obediently. The males in the beast world had excellent hearing, especially at such a close distance. Ian's face turned green. He hugged Mandy's shoulders and pulled her into his arms. He stared at Gu Meng Meng with his sickly face. Are you really going to bully others? I'm telling you, unless you kill me now, I won't allow you to do whatever you want to Mandy. Puff, Gu Meng Meng almost choked on her own saliva. She stared at Ian with widened eyes. What do you think I want to do to Mandy? Ian's face flushed red and he looked at Gu Meng Meng as if he was looking at his love rival. After holding it in for a long time, he said, why don't I fly to Sauder overnight and bring Sandy back for you tomorrow? No matter what you want to do, just look for Sandy. Gu Meng Meng held back her laughter. She understood that Ian must have thought of her as a lesbian. Chapter 1132. No, no. Mandy hurriedly shook her head and instinctively struggled out of Ian's embrace. She squatted down in front of Gu Meng Meng and looked straight into her eyes. Afraid that she would misunderstand, she explained, "You are the great messenger that I admire the most. How can I not like you?" Gu Meng Meng glanced at Ian with a sly and provocative look, like a mischievous child playing a prank. "So, do you like me?" Gu Meng Meng asked deliberately. Mandy nodded without hesitation. "I like you, of course I like you." Gu Meng Meng pounced forward and hugged Mandy tightly. She rested her chin on Mandy's shoulder and looked at Ian with her big eyes full of smiles. "I like Mandy too." "I like her very very much," Ian nodded. Ian was going crazy but could not do anything to Gu Meng Meng. Elvis held on to the back of Gu Meng Meng's collar and pulled her back into his arms. He said calmly, "You look at her more than you look at me." "I am jealous." Gu Meng Meng giggled and held Elvis's face with both hands. She kissed him and said, "All right, I will stop fooling around. Let's eat." It was mainly because Ian's angry look was too interesting. Otherwise, Gu Meng Meng would not have teased Mandy like that. But, Gu Meng Meng had never thought that she would be mistaken as a homosexual one day. Did Elvis and Leah also have such subtle feelings when she fantasized about them in the past? Leah seemed to be all right, but Elvis seemed to explode at the mention of such things. He would definitely not be able to accept it. Compared to the two of them, Gu Meng Meng felt that her acceptance level was rather high. It was not real anyway. It was just fooling around. After settling the proper business, Gu Meng Meng did not have much interest in fooling around with the entire tribe. After all, according to tradition, what was about to happen next would not be harmonious. It was almost winter and the males naturally wanted to fight for the last chance to confess to the females they admired. Not interested in watching everyone clap for love, Gu Meng Meng left early and returned to the cave. Not long after, Mandy also found an excuse to leave. She circled around the area and headed to Gu Meng Meng's cave. Ian followed closely as if guarding against thieves, as if he was afraid that Gu Meng Meng would eat Mandy up. Gu Meng Meng could not be bothered to argue with him and just sprawled lazily by the stone table. When she saw Mandy, she waved her hand and gestured for her to sit over. After Mandy sat down, Leah carried a big pot of meat to the table. "My Meng Meng cannot eat too much barbecued meat. She will have a nosebleed, so I came back to prepare a special stove. If you can still eat, why don't you accompany my Meng Meng to eat some?" Mandy was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. Leah very gentlemanly took out 2 bowls, one for Gu Meng Meng and the other for Mandy. Then, he scooped 2 bowls of meat for the 2 females to chat while they ate. Gu Meng Meng didn't beat around the bush and said directly, "Mandy, I called you here today because I want to drag you down with me to do something bad." Mandy looked at Gu Meng Meng as she ate. "All right, what are you doing?" Gu Meng Meng chuckled. Perhaps this was the effect of idols. This Mandy, she actually agreed first before asking what it was about. Because of her admiration, she felt that idols were extremely beautiful even when they scratched their feet. Fortunately, she was not a bad person. Otherwise, even if she were to be sold, she would still be counting the money. Chapter 1133. Mandy looked at Gu Meng Meng, not really understanding. Gu Meng Meng said, "I want all females to keep their distance from her and not play with her." Mandy nodded in realization and said with a smile, "Aw, I understand now that you put it this way." Without asking why, Mandy nodded and continued. "No problem, leave this matter to me. Before sunset tomorrow, I guarantee that none of the 16 valued females will bother with her." Gu Meng Meng chuckled approvingly. Then, she added, "But you can't let anyone know that I am the one who ordered you to do this." Mandy nodded. "No problem." Gu Meng Meng scooped another bowl of meat for Mandy. Eat more. Mandy replied and ate a few more bowls. Gu Mingming's appetite wasn't big and she had roasted meat during the night campfire party. Hence, most of the stewed meat went into Mandy's stomach. After finishing her meal, Mandy licked her lips and bade farewell to Gu Meng Meng reluctantly. She then followed Ian back to her own cave. Leah smiled at Gu Meng Meng as he tidied up the cutlery. Looks like we have the same idea. Gu Meng Meng chuckled in Elvis's arms. In the beast world, females are the most respected. Mated males treat their females like deities. As long as the 16 valued females ostracize Maya, it will be difficult for her to do anything in Saint Nazaire. After all, half of the people in Saint Nazaire are males from the 16 valued females. The other half are their pursuers. Without anyone to cooperate, Maya can't do anything. Leah continued Gu Mingming's words with approval. Gu Meng Meng nodded. I never thought that Maya had a problem before, so I didn't think so. Now that I think about it, Nina was really wronged. Her domineering personality was at least 80% due to Maya's incitement, right? I even thought that Maya was the one bullying Maya and that Maya was the type to swallow her anger. I didn't expect her to be the other way around. Leah rubbed his nose. It was rare for him to feel guilty. After all, he was the one who allowed Maya to incite Nina. Elvis could tell that Leah was feeling uneasy, so he interrupted. Do you really think Mandy can order those females around? I think they're also fighting each other openly and covertly. They don't look like they'll be obedient. Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, give them a common enemy and they will naturally unite. Actually, Elvis did not quite understand what Gu Meng Meng meant, so she explained, humans have a crowd mentality. When everyone did this, it became a matter of course. Even if you felt that something was wrong, if you didn't do it, you would become an anomaly. This would make people very uneasy, and they would compromise with themselves. In the end, they would go with the flow. In order to prove that he wasn't an anomaly, he suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and went even further than ordinary people. Elvis did not understand, but Lee's smile deepened. He even stopped washing the dishes and sat beside Gu Meng Meng, attentively listening to Gu Mingming's analysis. Gu Meng Meng had a feeling that the great Gu hoodwinking lecture was about to start again. Chapter 1134. Let's take Maya as an example. Gu Meng Meng chuckled, then continued, I purposely arranged for her to sit beside me during the night campfire party today, and even called her over to my campfire to talk for a while. This was an opportunity for her to be hated. Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng in confusion, asking, but Mandy also sat beside you, and went to talk to you, so will she be ostracized too? Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, Mandy is the first beauty of the beast world that I personally named. She has taken the little bamboo cup that I personally made and has become my partner with my good friend Ian. She can come to the cave to eat, chat and play with me whenever she wants. If she sits beside me, everyone will only take it for granted. But Maya is different. Gu Mingming's gaze turned cold, and with a hint of slyness, she said, although the 16 valued females come from different tribes, they came to Saint Nazaire together. They are on the same starting line, and have a kind of empathy for one another. And Maya, the original half-orc female of Saint Nazaire, will never be able to blend into the circle of the 16 valued females. If she had a good relationship with me like Sandy, it would still be alright. But unfortunately, our relationship is just a so-so. If Leah had not suggested for me to reveal the news to her today, I would have forgotten about this person. Gu Meng Meng paused, then said, if I really forget about her, it would be a good thing for her. After all, she knows how to show her weakness, putting on a cowardly look whenever she meets people, and is highly deceptive. Most females would not make things difficult for her, because a complete female would not even bother to treat a half-orc female like her as an opponent. But she just had to be like this, suddenly becoming the center of attention today. There must be some among the 16 valued females who are unconvinced, such as what right does a lowly half-orc female like her have to sit beside the messenger of the beast deity, or if just because she is an original female of Saint Nazir, she can claim a relationship with the messenger. How shameless, and other reasons are enough to make her ostracize. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and continued, and what Mandy has to do is just to randomly start a conversation, then add some fuel to the fire. Leah held his cheek and looked at Gu Mengmeng, his long and narrow eyes filled with approval. He loved Gu Mengmeng's craftiness like a little fox, it was really charming. Lusting after her radiant look, Leah continued asking, "Are you so sure that those females will only target Maya and won't implicate Mandy?" Gu Mengmeng nodded without a doubt and said, "Girls will not be jealous of Fan Bingbing's beauty, but they will be jealous of Wang Erhua from the class next door who has lost another 2 kilograms, and the neighbor Zhao Xiaomei's newly removed double eyelids are especially beautiful." Who were Fan Bingbing, Wang Erhua, and Zhao Xiaomei? Looking at Leah and Elvis's confused faces, Gu Mengmeng knew that they would not understand her explanation, so she changed her explanation. "Let's put it this way, for example, one day you suddenly say that you don't want me anymore and that you like someone else. Then, when I see that the person you like is Melinda, I might start bawling and scold you for being a scum. Then, after the emotional trauma has passed, I will slowly recover. But if the person you like is Nina, then I will definitely be unhappy. She is not as good as me in every aspect, do you want her to not want me? This is simply trampling on my dignity. I can tolerate it, but I can't. We have to fight it out, right?" Aside from the topic, regarding Maya, let me say a few words. This person did not suddenly turn evil. Actually, I have mentioned it in the previous chapter, I don't know if everyone still remembers it. 1. When Gu Mengmeng left the Snake King Valley and brought her tribesmen back to Saint Nazir from Sauter, they encountered stray beasts on the way. Then, how did the stray beasts know their route and exact time? At that time, Gu Mengmeng was already a beast king. If someone was following them, they would definitely discover it. So, there must be a traitor. 2. Cole used a worm on Leah, messing up his rationality and driving him crazy with jealousy. The last straw that broke the camel's back was when Maya said, "Burke brought Kanwu and the rest along with Gu Mengmeng. They are more like a family than Leah." 3. Previously, on the grassland outside Sauter, the half-orc female who was with Cole was also Maya. I don't want my babies to become conspiracy theorists, but I'm afraid that you will feel that Maya's turn to evil was too sudden, so I'm going to recap the past. You won't lose to anyone. Gu Mengmeng could not help but laugh out loud. She was actually happy to be praised by her own man. Even though Gu Mengmeng felt that objectively speaking, Melinda was prettier than her. But who wouldn't want to be the prettiest girl in her man's heart? Gu Mengmeng hugged Li's head with both hands and rubbed it. Then, she continued. "Yeah, you have good taste. Keep it up." Because of Li's interruption, Gu Mengmeng had forgotten to analyze this matter in detail. But anyway, the results would be displayed in front of her tomorrow. There was no difference whether she analyzed it or not. Aside from the topic, there were still 4 days before the release. Yeah, it should be around 120,000 on the first day. Babies, are you surprised? Are you surprised? Chapter 1136. Mandy indeed did not disappoint Gu Mengmeng. The next morning was still fine, but by noon, the atmosphere in Saint Nazir was clearly different. As Elvis had already stored enough food and did not need to go out hunting, Gu Mengmeng let him accompany her to walk around the tribe. On one hand, it was to check if there were any loopholes, and on the other hand, she wanted to see Mandy's results. By the stream, the 16 valued females were sitting in a circle discussing something. When they saw Gu Meng Meng, they all stood up and greeted her in a docile manner. Gu Meng Meng waved at Mandy, who walked over with a smile. "What were you talking about just now? Why are you smiling so happily?" Gu Meng Meng asked, even though she already knew the answer. After all, with her current hearing, she had already heard their conversation from afar. Mandy chuckled and replied, "Liana and the rest took in a few new males last night and are showing us her mating marks." Yeah, Gu Meng Meng heard this just now. Liana's new partner last night, mark on her butt, to prevent Liana from lifting up her beast skin skirt to show her new mark. Gu Meng Meng spoke first. Last winter, there were 3 females in Sauter who gave birth to cubs, and one was pregnant with a female cub. This year, all of you must fight hard for me. Don't let others say that my 16 valued females are good-looking but useless, understand? Great Messenger, don't worry. We have sufficient food this winter, and with you, the leader and the witch doctor around, we don't need to worry about being disturbed. We will work hard to mate, and fight hard for the Great Messenger when winter ends next year. We won't let those foxes in Sauter lose out. The one speaking was Liana. Gu Meng Meng nodded in satisfaction and said, "Females are the tribe's precious resource, and cubs are the foundation of a tribe's strength. All of you must work hard, the glory of Saint Nazir depends on all of you." The females were all fighting to be the first to agree to Gu Meng Meng's request, as if they were injected with chicken blood. Gu Meng Meng nodded in satisfaction and thought to herself, "Males, this is as far as I can help you." As they were chatting and laughing, Maya also arrived at the stream. But before they even got close, the faces of the 16 valued females darkened. Gu Meng Meng pretended not to understand and looked at everyone, then at Maya, not saying a word. Mandy exchanged glances with the 16 valued females before walking to Gu Meng Meng's side. She said coquettishly, "Gu Meng Meng, I have a secret to tell you. Follow me back to my cave to take a look, alright?" Gu Meng Meng naturally had to go along with Mandy's act, so she nodded. "Alright." After agreeing, he said to the others, "Sorry girls, Mandy and I will be leaving first. I'll chat with you another day. Take care, Great Messenger." "Goodbye, Great Messenger." The 16 valued females smiled and waved at Gu Meng Meng, then watched her leave. In actual fact, Gu Meng Meng and Mandy had secretly returned to the stream after taking a detour. But this time, they hid behind a large tree in the distance, quietly observing the situation by the stream without revealing themselves. "Hey, half-beast female." Liana was the first to attack. She took a step forward and stood in front of Maya. She said, "We sisters want to rest by the stream. Get lost." Chapter 1137. I'm also a female of Saint Nazir, Maya said timidly. Liana chuckled and crossed her arms in front of her chest. "So what? We are complete females and have the right to enjoy the tribe's resources first. A lowly half-orc female like you dares to snatch from us." After Nina's death, it had been a long time since anyone in Saint Nazir talked about complete females and half-orc females. Because of Gu Meng Meng's relationship with Sandy, she was very lenient towards the half-orc females. Hence, the 16 valued females had been very restrained in the past year and had never argued with Sandy and Maya. However, the sense of superiority that had been ingrained from birth could not be completely worn away in just over a year. There was really no need to learn how to flaunt their prowess in front of the half-orc females. Every complete female could do it easily. Especially when the 15 present were the original first beauties of the tribe. This sense of superiority was even more obvious. All of them were at the peak of their abilities. Gu Meng Meng said that in Saint Nazir, half-orc females are not inferior to complete females. "We are all the same." Maya could not keep up the act any longer. She clenched her fists tightly by her side and her voice was sharp. Liana looked as if she had heard a joke. She lifted her chin and looked at Maya. "Oh, are you trying to curry favor with the great messenger just because you are an old tribesman of Saint Nazir? Are you trying to show how close you are to the great messenger so that you can use her name to pressure us?" "That's not what I meant." Maya felt that things were getting out of hand. Everything had been fine yesterday, but she did not know why things had turned out this way today. Her males had gone out to hunt in the morning and all of them were injured when they returned. She asked in detail and found out that they had been bullied by the males of the 16 valued females. Not only had they snatched their prey, they had also severely injured them. Although Saint Nazir had a witch doctor, the injuries of ordinary males could not even trouble Leah to treat them. Hence, they could only force themselves to endure. Maya did not know what had happened, so she specially ran over to the stream to find out what was going on. In the end, she realized that these females had started to target her for no reason. All of this was too sudden. She couldn't understand what was going on. Liana did not have the patience to talk nonsense with Maya. She just took a step back and said, "Where are your males? Are they here? What do you want?" Maya looked at the 16 valued female standing in front of her, her heart pounding. Liana said, "I don't want to see you here. You can either scram immediately, or let your male come out and compete with our male. The winner will stay." As soon as Liana finished speaking, the 16 valued females gave their partners a meaningful look, and the accompanying males gathered in unison. In the beast world, a female would have at least 2 family members by her side, the first partner and the strongest male in the family. The 2 of them usually didn't need to go out to hunt. They would always stay by the female's side to ensure that she lived comfortably and safely. Just like Sandy's Boyd and Colin, and Mandy's Ralph and Ian. Therefore, almost all the orcs that surrounded them were level 3 and level 4 orcs. Maya only had a level 2 wolf, Nissan, with her. How could she possibly be a match for them? "You!" Maya's eyes reddened. She stomped her feet, turned around, and ran away. She looked extremely wronged. Chapter 1138. Liana snorted coldly. "Do you think we can hide our little tricks from the great messenger?" "You mean," Liana continued. "With the great messenger's intelligence, the moment Mandy said we were going to pull her away, she knew what we were going to do. If the great messenger wanted to help that half-orc female, she could have stayed or asked her to leave with her. But the great messenger left with Mandy without even turning back. Isn't it obvious that she will not side with her?" "Yeah, that makes sense." Another female agreed. Liana continued. "Maya is not Sandy. Even if she really complained to the great messenger, she will not pursue the matter even if we deny it. But, if she really dares to sow discord in front of the great messenger and ruin our image, we will show her the prowess of the 16 valued females." The 10 over females roared with laughter. Then, they all started to think about how to teach Maya a lesson. Elvis, who had been by Gu Mengmeng's side all along, felt his scalp go numb. He carried Gu Mengmeng up and turned to leave. No way, these females were too scary. He could not let Xiao Meng stay with them anymore. She would be scared. However, he seemed to have forgotten. The one who had instigated these females to target Maya was the little fairy in his arms. After walking for some distance, Gu Mengmeng patted Mandy's shoulder. "Now that I have dragged you down with me, we can be considered to have been in the same boat. Although Ian had never been my messenger's protector, his importance to me wasn't any lower than Colin's. So, you can treat me like a good friend like Sandy in the future. When you need my help, you can look for me in my cave. When you miss me, you can also look for me, yeah." Mandy smiled so widely that only her teeth could be seen. It was 70% blissful and 30% sweet. Gu Meng Meng smiled back. It's almost noon. Do you want to have lunch together? Mandy's eyes instinctively darted to Elvis's face. She was clearly trying to read his expression. It was almost winter and by then, Gu Meng Meng would have to stay in the cave no matter how much she liked crowds. So before the snow sealed off the mountain, Elvis did not stop her even though he was unwilling. He nodded, silently allowing Mandy to accompany Gu Meng Meng for a meal. Mandy was overjoyed as she nodded. Then, she turned to her partner and said, "Ralph, send me to the outskirts of Gu Meng Meng's territory, then go back and ask Ian to fetch me." "All right." Ralph nodded, then carried Mandy up and followed Elvis back to the cave. As winter was approaching, Warriton, who shared meals with them, treated every meal as his last. As a result, the amount of prey he brought back increased day by day, causing Leah, who was in charge of cooking, to have a bad expression on his face. There were a few times when he wanted to reject Warriton's request to share a meal with him, but on account of Gu Meng Meng, he held himself back. When Gu Meng Meng returned, she saw Warriton circling around the pot. Barit was like a silent ranger sitting quietly at the entrance of the cave, his deep and precise gaze capturing Gu Meng Meng's figure. Meanwhile, Leah was looking at Warriton with disdain while cooking. Seeing that Gu Meng Meng had returned, the smile on his face turned warmer. Chapter 1139. TSK TSK TSK. Leo was speechless as he shook his head in amazement. This female's technique is really, Gu Meng Meng chuckled and continued Lee's sentence. There is no smoke on a woman's battlefield, but it is far crueler than a man's. Leah nodded in deep agreement. Just hearing Gu Meng Meng's plan to deal with Maya from the 16 valued females was already enough to make Leah gasp in amazement. He had always thought that the Snow Fox tribe was good at scheming, but now he realized that their so-called scheming only applied to making use of others. They would only act after obtaining benefits, so as long as they followed the lines of benefits, they would always be able to find clues. Even for a pervert like Cole, there were still benefits to be gained from guessing people's intentions. But when the females were ruthless, they would simply harm you, without any benefits at all. Their motives were so pure that it made one speechless. So much so that it was impossible to deduce the course of events from the conclusion, because the final outcome would be someone's misfortune, and no one would gain anything from it. Leah facepalmed as he thought about it. He suddenly felt that those accidents that he did not take to heart in the past were not so simple. Gu Meng Meng did not say much and just continued eating from her bowl. With the 16 valued females taking care of Maya, even if I am not in Saint Nazaire, Maya's days will not be too boring. He would not have the time and energy to obstruct Gu Meng Meng's actions. Mandy finished the meat in her bowl, then looked up at Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng, there is something I feel I should tell you. Gu Meng Meng looked back at Mandy, inquiring with her eyes. Mandy said, when I went to meet the 16 valued females this morning, I purposely raised the topic of Maya and heard something strange. Gu Meng Meng replied with a single syllable, indicating for Mandy to continue. Mandy continued, during the rainy season last year, there were many people from other tribes who came to Saint Nazaire to snatch food. But every time there was an invasion, Maya was not in the tribe. Even though a lot of her food was snatched away, when we saw her at the end of winter, we realized that she did not lose any weight at all. Moreover, her partners were all there. What he meant was that even though Maya's food had been stolen, she was still able to enjoy a sumptuous winter, and it wasn't at the expense of eating her companion. Gu Meng Meng chuckled. She was not surprised by this outcome at all. She just exchanged a look with Leah and it was a tacit understanding. Oakley wanted to use the water source to push Solder to the teeth of the storm to coerce Cole, so Cole used the food to drag Saint Nazaire into the water to share the risk. Since it was Cole's doing, he would naturally give Maya some pointers. After all, most of the males who would come to snatch the food were already mated. In order to prevent their own females from starving, there was a high possibility that they would kill Maya when snatching the food. After all, as long as Maya died, her male would be devoured by the mating contract. This way, the food that her family had stored up would become ownerless, and they could take whatever they wanted. Maya was an important chess piece in the game between Cole and Leah. Naturally, Cole would not let Maya die so easily. So it was natural for him to give her a few pointers before she made a move. He couldn't let the food robbers kill Maya, and naturally, he wouldn't let her starve to death during the winter. Chapter 1140. Mandy saw that Gu Meng Meng was not surprised at all and was even exchanging glances with Leah. Mandy thought for a moment and asked, "You already knew?" Gu Meng Meng did not hide anything from Maya and nodded. "Yeah, I knew." Mandy nodded. "That's true. You are the messenger of the beast deity. You must know everything." Gu Meng Meng chuckled. She thought to herself that the messenger of the beast deity was not a half-immortal. How could she know everything? It was just that Leah had told her about Maya's identity. Many things became clear at a glance. There was no need to explain too much. Sometimes, it was good to maintain a sense of mystery. Mandy had just finished the meat in her bowl when Ian came to fetch her. He even placed a beast-skin bag on the table. "My man has freeloaded a few meals at your place. Consider this a gift in return." With that, Ian did not waste any more words. He carried Mandy and flew into the sky. Gu Meng Meng snorted arrogantly. "So what if you can fly?" A reply came from the sky. "Yes, it's great to be able to fly." Gu Meng Meng waved her fist and roared. "Just you wait." Despite her roar, Gu Meng Meng was not really angry. She just casually flipped open the beast-skin bag on the table. There were over 50 bird eggs the size of chicken eggs inside. According to the ratio in the beast world, these eggs were probably equivalent to quail eggs in the modern world. Leah craned his neck to take a look. He smiled. "Ian, you're good. It's almost winter and the birds are not laying eggs anymore. You must have flown for a long time to find these, right?" "Ha!" Laughing, Leah raised his voice and shouted in the direction that Ian had flown off to. "Hey, welcome your female to join us for a meal again." Gu Meng Meng burst out laughing. If Leah were to wave a handkerchief in his hand now, he would look like a brothel madam from a television drama. Leah did not know what Gu Meng Meng was laughing at. He just habitually curled his lips at her smile. Then, he turned around to continue preparing the food. Elvis, who had been silent all this while, tightened his arms around Gu Meng Meng's waist. "Xiao Meng, in the future, you better not hang out with the 16 valued females. They are too dangerous." Gu Meng Meng turned around and asked Elvis with a smile, "Are you scared?" Elvis nodded. If it was a tactic aimed at him, he was not afraid of anything. But he was especially afraid that those methods would be used on Gu Meng Meng one day. In the past, he had felt that females were annoying, but now he felt that they were terrifying. Gu Meng Meng leaned into Elvis's arms and patted his back lightly to comfort him. "Don't worry, they won't use those tricks on me. Even if he used it, it wouldn't be enough in front of me. I've watched more than 700 episodes of Detective Conan, and I'm proficient in more than 600 ways to kill people. I'm familiar with hundreds of poisons and know how to create all kinds of alibis." Seeing how Gu Meng Meng was spouting nonsense, Elvis's mood suddenly became better. No matter what others wanted to do to her, he would always be there to protect her. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, the mountain was covered in snow. Gu Meng Meng sat at the entrance of the cave. Holding her chin, she watched as the entrance, which could fit 3 people side by side, was gradually sealed by the snow. Her gaze became a little dazed. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng from behind and whispered into her ear, "It's too cold, don't sit at the entrance." Before Gu Meng Meng could complain, she heard a loud thud and Elvis fell straight onto the ground. Gu Meng Meng was shocked and immediately squatted down to hug Elvis's head, patting his face and calling, "Hubby. Hubby, what happened to you? Are you allergic to grapes? Don't scare me." Huff, 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 Gu Meng Meng was taken aback for a moment. She blinked her eyes and looked at Elvis, whose face was rosy and his breathing was even and did not look like he was allergic at all. She was stunned for a moment before she laughed dryly and said, "It can't be. 1 cup and you'll pass out." Chapter 1142. Leah. Gu Meng Meng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She should not have allowed them to drink at the same time. She had forgotten that there were no alcohol products in the beast world and these two had no resistance to it at all. She had thought that they might get drunk, but she did not expect them to be so drunk after just 1 cup. Leah frowned and pinched Gu Meng Meng's face with his large hands, forcefully turning her mouth into a fish's mouth. Then, he kissed her harshly and said angrily, "What did you call me?" Leah. Before Gu Meng Meng could finish her sentence, Leah kissed her again, crushing the word "yeah" in her mouth. Squinting his dangerous eyes, Leah said domineeringly, "Call me daddy." Pfft, Gu Meng Meng really wanted to spit a mouthful of red wine on Lee's face. Ever since she gave birth to Heda and his brothers, she did not call him daddy anymore. She thought he had long forgotten about it. "Stop fooling around, let me put Elvis on the bed first, alright?" Gu Meng Meng tried to reason with Leah. But Leah did not care about that and squeezed himself in between Gu Meng Meng and Elvis. Then, he squeezed Elvis out of Gu Meng Meng's embrace and made her his own. His large tail wrapped around her waist and he clung onto Gu Meng Meng like an octopus, saying, "Call me daddy, quickly call me daddy." Leah, Leah did not stop until he heard Gu Meng Meng call him daddy. He kissed her lips harshly again. When they let go, both of their lips were slightly swollen. His gaze was filled with hidden bitterness and his drunken state was the most blurry. His gaze landed on Gu Meng Meng's face and he said softly, "In the past, you would always call me Leah daddy obediently, but now you don't. Gu Meng Meng, little Gu Meng Meng, did you have a change of heart? Do you think I don't look good anymore?" Gu Meng Meng knew that Leah was drunk so she gave up trying to reason with a drunkard. She could only go along with his wishes and called out softly, "Daddy Leah." Leah froze for half a second before suddenly crying. As he cried, he hugged Gu Meng Meng and kissed her randomly. He choked as he kissed, "Aw. I must be dying, right? Otherwise, why would you be so obedient? You must be thinking that I'm going to die. Sob sob sob, I don't want to die yet, I still want to accompany you. What will you do if I die? You can't eat Elvis's cooking, you'll be poisoned to death." Was the logic of a drunkard fed to the dogs? He asked her to call Leah daddy, and she did, so he was going to die. What the F***ck was this? This was the first time Gu Meng Meng saw Leah cry, and it was in such a situation. Sighing, Gu Meng Meng hugged Leah back and patted his back to comfort him. You won't die. You still want to grow old with me, don't you?" "Yes." Leah cried aggrievedly and only managed to spit out one word after a few turns. Gu Meng Meng said, "All right, come down quickly, you're so heavy." "Meng Meng, do you still like me?" Leah didn't get up and just looked at Gu Meng Meng drunkenly. Gu Meng Meng was helpless and could only reply with a smile, "I like it, of course I like it." Leah nodded in satisfaction, then said, "Then you lick me." Chapter 1143. Leah stuck out his tongue and licked Gu Mingming's face, saying, "Here, just like this." Similar to how dogs express their love. Yeah, orcs still had some beast genes in them. Licking should be the most direct way for them to express their love, right? But it was so embarrassing. Gu Mengmeng felt that she could not do it. "You don't like it?" Lee's gaze was blurry, with a tinge of infatuation and drunkenness. He stuck out his pink tongue and licked the tip of Gu Mingming's nose, saying, "I like Gu Mengmeng so much, why can't Gu Mengmeng like me a little too?" Gu Mengmeng felt all the bones in her body go limp after being licked by Leah. Stop fooling around," Leah paused, then sniffed. He suddenly smiled and hooked Gu Mingming's chin with his index finger, saying, "I can smell the scent of the fox seductive fragrance. My Gu Mengmeng is aroused, because of me, right?" You like me licking you?" No. Gu Mengmeng wanted to kill herself. Leah was clearly teasing her unconsciously when he was drunk, but her damn body actually reacted. Gu Mengmeng despised herself harshly in her heart and kept telling herself to stay calm, stay calm. It was a perverted act to lay hands on someone who was not in his right mind. She was a good wife from a good family, she would not do such a thing. Leah bit Gu Mengmeng's lips. Hearing Gu Mengmeng gasping in pain, he seemed to be smiling happily, wiping away his tears and curling his lips, saying, "Punish you, who asked you not to tell the truth?" Gu Mengmeng, you're not good. You secreted so much fox seductive fragrance when I licked you. The last time, when I licked here, the concentration of the fox seductive fragrance almost made me lose consciousness. His slender fingers gently wiped Gu Mingming's lips, asking, "Did I bite you?" It's all red, it must be painful." As he said, he pulled Gu Mingming's hand and placed it on his chest, saying, "If you're in pain, I feel the pain too. Damn, don't bite me if you're feeling heartache." Moreover, what kind of scene was that when he said that he felt heartache and smiled at the same time? Seeing that Gu Mengmeng was not saying anything, Leah blinked his eyes, as if his brain was broken and he was trying hard to organize his thoughts. After a long while, he finally said, "Why don't I lick you? You can lick me after you're happy." Gu Mengmeng was really speechless. They were not even two damn dogs, why were they licking? Gu Mengmeng hardened her heart and thought if she should just release some beast pressure to make Leah faint. But before she could do anything, she heard a sound from the side. When she looked up, Elvis, who was lying on the ground like a corpse, was already standing there with his hands behind his back. He was looking down at Gu Mengmeng, who was lying on the ground under Leah. "Xiao Meng, get up." Elvis's voice was cold and his expression was sinister. He looked completely different from his usual self. Gu Mengmeng was a little terrified. Could it be that she developed a second personality after drinking? She pushed Leah, but Leah just lay on Gu Mengmeng's body, refusing to get up. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to look up at Elvis. In the end, the moment she met his eyes, she felt her body becoming lighter. Leah was thrown out by Elvis in a parabola trajectory, crashing heavily against the cave wall. Elvis then lifted Gu Mengmeng up and said coldly, "I said, get up." Damn, Elvis looked so scary after drinking. Could it be that he was going to commit domestic violence after drinking? Aside from the topic, these two fellows, passed out after one drink, their styles after getting drunk were completely different. Yeah, everyone can look forward to what kind of jokes these two fellows would make tomorrow. Chapter 1144. I'm up. It had been a long time since Gu Mengmeng was carried by Elvis like this. Her feet did not touch the ground, and after kicking a few times, seeing that Elvis had no intention of putting her down, she just gave up and treated herself as a piece of laundry that was hung up. Elvis's blue eyes were bottomless and his expression was calm and sinister. He did not look like he was drunk, but an extremely calm killer executing a mission. This expression was actually Elvis's signature expression before he met Gu Mengmeng, but she had never seen him like this before. A large hand pinched Gu Mengmeng's lower jaw and his gaze locked onto her swollen lips. He frowned slightly and his blue eyes deepened. His voice was as cold as a bone-chilling wind. "He bit you." Gu Mengmeng was thinking that Elvis's black and drunken look was not one to be trifled with. Should she lie for Leah? In the end, before she could say anything, her mouth was forcefully kissed by Elvis. His nimble tongue attacked the inside of her mouth, taking whatever he wanted and turning the world upside down. He kissed her until she almost suffocated before Elvis let go of her. There was not a hint of lust on his face and he was still as cold as an assassin. He opened his mouth and said calmly, "Let's go." "There's his taste." After saying that, Gu Mengmeng felt her body lighten and she was free falling. Elvis let go without any warning and Gu Mengmeng fell onto the ground on her butt. Before she could get up, Elvis and Leah were already in a brawl. It was not the usual playful way of fighting. The two of them looked like they were fighting with their lives on the line. Did they really just drink a glass of wine with low purity? Were they sure they didn't drink concentrated alcohol? "Stop fighting!" Gu Mengmeng roared. Leah was not Elvis's match due to the difference in their levels and was almost being suppressed by him. Elvis was stopped by Gu Mengmeng's roar. He turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and said coldly, "Don't butt in between males matters." After saying that, he threw another punch at Leah. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. She did not expect Elvis to be so straight after getting drunk. She was momentarily speechless. While Elvis was distracted talking to Gu Mengmeng, Leah suddenly broke free from his restraint and shouted, "How dare you shout at my Gu Mengmeng!" She pounced towards Elvis and hung onto his back, biting his shoulder with all her might without letting go. Elvis's muscles tightened, but with only one level of difference, he could not shake off Leah as easily as Wabi did with the four little ones. He could only bend his body forward and roll on the ground, pinning Leah behind him. Leah heaved a sigh of relief from the pain on his back. Elvis took the opportunity to flip over and ride on Lee's body. His hands had already turned into sharp claws and he went straight for Lee's face. Gu Mengmeng saw that they would really die if she did not stop them. Hence, she clenched her fists and instantly released a huge amount of beast pressure, causing Elvis and Leah to fall to the ground in a second. Elvis's body went limp and he laid on Lee's body. Lee's claws had already pierced into Elvis's back and half of his nails were embedded in his flesh. One of Elvis's hands was holding onto Lee's silver hair tightly while the other hand that was about to attack Leah landed weakly beside Lee's ear. Chapter 11:45. Gu Mengmeng sighed. Forget it, these two fellows had real fur on their bodies and they would not feel cold even if they slept on the floor. Just let them be. Gu Mengmeng shook her head helplessly and poured herself another glass of grape wine. She tasted it carefully and it tasted really good. Moreover, the purity was really not high. She did not know why the two of them were so drunk. After drinking 2 to 3 glasses, Gu Mengmeng felt tipsy so she covered the glass and climbed back into bed to sleep. She did not know how long she slept in a daze. But when Gu Mengmeng woke up, Elvis and Leah had not woken up yet. The two of them were still in the same position as when they were fighting. But now, they seemed to be more intimate. Elvis loosened his grip on Lee's hair so he was no longer in a state of grabbing but, my hand that went through your silver hair. His other hand that was originally going to attack Leah had now gone through the back of Lee's neck and was used as a pillow under his head. Lee's claws that were originally stuck in Elvis's waist had loosened a little and his nails had already been pulled out from his flesh. But now, his two arms were wrapped around Elvis's waist, as if he was hugging him. Her long legs were intertwined and the beast-skin dress had already become crooked during the fight. It was a pathetic and ambiguous scene, and it was half covered and half exposed, making it even more tempting for one's imagination. Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a long time. She stared blankly at this scene that was even more seductive than a calcium film. Blood flowed down her nose uncontrollably. Elvis and Leah were traumatized by Gu Mingming's blood because of the scene of Gu Mingming's difficult labor when she gave birth to Kanwo and how Snakel carried Gu Mengmeng back in the Snake King Valley. So the moment they smelled her blood, the two of them woke up in shock. The first second after they opened their eyes, they were in a daze. Then, shock. Elvis and Leah originally thought that they were hugging Gu Mengmeng, so their first reaction when they opened their eyes was to stare at each other affectionately. But with just one look, the two of them were petrified. They immediately bounced back as if they were electrocuted. Then, the two of them peeked at Gu Mengmeng in unison. Seeing the blood dripping from her nose, he gritted his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng in his arms and supported the back of her head with his hand to raise her head. Leah, on the other hand, quickly went to the door and dug out 2 large chunks of snow, using his body to melt it into water, before patting it on Gu Mengmeng's forehead and nose bridge. The temperature of the snow was very low. After Leah melted the snow with his hands were also very cold. When he touched Gu Mengmeng's skin, there was an icy feeling and it was very comfortable. Gu Mengmeng squinted her eyes and giggled foolishly while Elvis and Lee's faces darkened even further. Erase whatever you're thinking about right now, now. Leah smacked Gu Mengmeng's forehead as he commanded, almost gritting his teeth. Gu Mengmeng feigned ignorance and smiled. What am I thinking? I wasn't thinking about anything. Leo looked at Gu Mengmeng coldly and pinched her little nose. You have a nosebleed when you didn't think of anything. Gu Mengmeng held back her laughter. She looked at Elvis and then at Leah. Then, she stuck one hand into Lee's hair and the other around his neck. She looked at Leah lustfully and asked, "Are you trying to make me forget about this?" You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.